Welcome to the evening show. I'm your host, Victor Vincian, the Internet StepDaddy. And we are here to help women understand men and what it takes to be wifey. So I'm going to begin the show with a video so we can assess what are women doing right and what are women doing wrong. Let's get started.
Patrice, Dallas, 36. What's your zodiac sign?
I don't believe in that.
Okay. And no kids. Never married?
Biblically, yes. Biblically, no. Legally, yes.
How
I'll
long?
just leave it. I'll just leave it at that. So legally, I was married, but not biblically.
How many years were you legally married for?
Um, 2.5.
So when did you get divorced?
2019.
So was it a deal? Like you got married to help somebody out?
No. So he was. So I don't believe in divorce and remarriage, and he's been married 2 times before me. So marriage is until death. So I had to leave due to my beliefs. So anybody that's been married before, it's a deal breaker.
So you won't get married again yourself then?
No, I will, because I've never been married before outside of him. That's why I say biblically I wasn't married.
Girl, now you know it's gonna make no damn sense.
It does.
So you were
Yeah.
legally married
Mm-hmm.
and you want to get married again, but
Mm-hmm.
you won't marry a man that was once married because you don't believe in somebody getting married after they were married.
Right. It's until death. So if you go out and marry someone,
But honey, you
um,
were but you were married and you got divorced for whatever reason. So I'm not here to challenge why you got divorced, but you essentially wouldn't even marry yourself. You are the person you're talking about.
we can leave it at that.
Divine Photo says, sounds like a walking contradiction. So you don't want a man that was married, but you was married. So that means you are the walking red flag.
Well, you got to understand the Bible to know where I'm coming from. When you've been married, let's just say two people that are single and they get married, and you divorce for whatever reason. The Bible says you can do that, but it doesn't give any reason where you should be going out and remarrying. You're married to that person until death. Now, if you go get remarried, you're in adultery until divorce them and go back to your first spouse. You got to understand the word. That's why I'm not here to,
I guess
argue
the
about it.
question is, we're trying to figure out why are you the exception to your rule because you yourself were married. So why
So
does it don't fit?
anybody's the exception if you've never been married before. Marriage is for two people who have never been married before. That's what
Right.
marriage is
Okay,
for.
Patrice, we understand that, but I guess what we're trying to understand is because you were once married yourself. So it's
It
like the
wasn't
big.
biblical though.
So could a man be like you? Could he say he was married, but it wasn't biblical? Is he an option?
Yes, he can. If he's never married prior to the one that he married, let's just say for instance, me. I was never married prior to the man that I was married to, right? He was married 2 times before me, so I was his third marriage. So therefore, his first spouse, she's still living. He's still married to her biblically. Just because you go out and get remarried again, that doesn't make that marriage null and voided. You're still married to that person. But a lot of people don't see it that way.
So should a man think you're still married to him since he was your first husband?
He wasn't mine. He never belonged to me. He still belonged to his first spouse.
Okay, so let me ask you this. When you got married to him, you didn't know he was married previously twice before?
I did know. However, I didn't come into, listen though, I knew, but I didn't come into this knowledge until after we married. So when I
Ah,
knew that it was wrong, I got out of it.
is that why you got a divorce?
Yes.
Okay, so y'all were married, and then when did you get the knowledge that he's still married biblically to his first wife?
This was probably in 2018, 18, 17.
Were you in church when it? I mean, I'm just wondering, how did you get the information?
Yeah, I was in church, but I was praying about it too. So it was just something that I was struggling with. And, once I came into the knowledge, I just knew that I needed to get out of it. I wasn't going to just stay in it just because.
So,
No.
okay. So I'm learning. I'm trying to learn from your point of view. So you're saying you were never biblically married because your husband was an ex-divorcee.
Right. Yes, and his first spouse is still living. Now, has she been, passed on? He has the right to go remarry. But while she's still living, no, she belongs to him and he belongs to her.
I don't have much to add on to what you guys just saw. Shout out to Kendra G for the work that she's doing in terms of bringing women to the conversation of dating, right? But there's a few things in that video, in that 5-minute span of time, that men are listening to, and it just doesn't make sense. There's a high level of delusion and poor expectation management in that complete and utter chaos that she was describing. This is exactly why women don't get what they want, because they are so specific about nothing. She is requiring something from a man that she doesn't even qualify for. Number one, that's what Kendra G's show is. It's the bastion of the unqualified, and that's why stepdaddy coaching is so necessary right now, because we have to be able to come up with a tangible discussion to help women get exactly what they want. But we also have to frame the conversation so they can be realistic about what they qualify for. Because you can only have the relationships that you can afford, and it has nothing to do with money. It has to do with character and not characteristics. This has more to do with the inner work that you need to do, So tonight's show is centered on how do we reframe the conversation around what it is to be a woman of desire that a man would appreciate and would want to protect. What type of investment are you looking for from a man? Because what does he get back from you? What does he benefit? How does his life change? What do you do to enhance his life? What do you do to multiply what he's already doing? This is the unpacked conversation about what do you bring to the table? But I'm not asking you that. What intangible leverage do you bring to a man? Think about that. If you're already able to take care of yourself, all of us are having these superficial conversations about, well, you can pay your bills, the 50-50, all of the other buzzwords that social media has basically built a database off of to change your algorithm. Where do you fit at in the spectrum of that? How are you contributing to your own outcome? So the ladies that are watching this and the fellas that are watching this in the chat, feel free to fill up the comment section with everything that you need answers to, especially the fellas, that are watching, because sometimes men and women both have skewed perceptions of what kind of conversation we even need to have to determine what language are we speaking, to each other. And a lot of the times you got somebody that's speaking a completely different language, but they want everything from a person that doesn't understand it. So if we have low reading comprehension, the chances are that we also don't know how to ask questions. We don't know how to interpret data, and we can't accept what we qualify for, and that's where the complaints come from. So the internet stepdaddy is here to help you understand how to reframe this discussion, expectation management, and everything that goes into really tapping into the empathy that it takes to really, really understand what's being required of you. So the one of the comments here, I know she's talking biblical marriage, but see, what do you say? I know she's talking about biblical marriage and law marriage. It feeds the delusion. Yes, the delusion is that you're expecting other people to know that, but to believe that there's a difference in terms of the union between the two. You want to get down into what it looks like on paper. You want to get down to what it looks like in a spiritual practice, that's something else. But you still have to be worthy of being invested in by a man in order to qualify for his covering. And the other thing is I like to say is you can't have the least amount of resources and think that you can make the rules. You can't. You cannot have the least amount of resources and think that you can make the rules. If there's a such animal, that exists, that show me that, show me where the people with the least amount of resources make the rules. We have to have a discussion about this. And the question is, what are resources? Is it just money? No. Resources boil down to problem solving, critical thinking, conflict resolution, everything that keeps the peace. So a lot of times that conversation is centered around, I'm looking for a provider. And this is a dual-headed conversation. You got men saying that they're providers. You got women that's saying, is he a provider? Well, number one, from the man's perspective, the only provider that's a man is a husband and a father. Okay. Everybody else is just a trick. So most of the men that y'all talk to that's bringing you this language talking about I'm a provider, that dude really a trick. You know what I'm saying? And he raised by a woman that act like you with the same expectation. The women that are asking for a provider are generally repeating stuff that they heard somebody else say. No man is a provider to you until he marries you. So in the meantime, he doesn't owe you anything. So stop asking for it. You don't even get to that point yet. You got to stop asking for stuff that you hadn't qualified for yet. That's number one. Take that language out. And it's not just money. It's problem solving. It's creative thinking. It's risk mitigation, and being a provider in general is about, does the person take away anxiety? It's not what they provide. They provide clarity, of course, and leadership, but do they take away the things that you don't want to do or don't have to do? Do they take something off your plate? What leverage do they give you for your personal peace and your being? How are they enhancing you? See, provision is supposed to enhance your feminine, just like your femininity is supposed to enhance his leadership. You're supposed to be inspirational. You're supposed to be the things that a man looks for when it comes down to him feeling respected. Like when they talk about women's empowerment, it's centered around whatever's important to women, in a popular term. But if you really, really want to experience women's empowerment, learn how to respect a man and watch him protect you so you can really enhance his life by being stowed away, treasured, not prized, treasured. Okay. You want to be hard to find, you know what I'm saying, by your other bitter female friends that's not getting what they want, because women keep women single, not men. So it's, can you get the same protection from your girls that a man can provide? It's something to think about. You got to be careful of who you're listening to when this stuff is stated. Let's go down to another question. What you got? Let's see here. Garfield, what's good, brother? I appreciate you tuning in. To all the other followers and people that's showing up and coming into the chat. The conversation about what a man should be and what women are trying to cultivate in the dating world is really a residual impact of poor expectation management. A lot of this false expectations comes from trying to fill gaps that a lot of women's mothers couldn't fill for themselves in their own dating experiences. And so they go through life looking for something in a relationship that's kind of looks like revenge, and you see women say things to that like, I did better than my mother. At least I got this far. I got this far before I experienced this. I did better than her. I didn't need from her what I was able to do for myself. And then you'll see a lot of women cultivate relationships that are just rooted in competition. They're not healthy either. Unhealthy competition is very, very dangerous. Man, come on. Hey, thank you. Ifaloa, I think that's how to pronounce your name. I don't want to be disrespectful. I appreciate you tuning in. Says expectations ruin a lot of relationships and lives. Yes, there's been countless times where I said women live in expectation and men live on experience. Women live on expectations and men live on experience. Case in point, how many times have we heard women complain about what they expected a man to do? And the truth is that the expectation was based on the lie that the woman told herself. And then through experience, men read the behavior and they either exit peacefully, like we call it ghosting if it happens on a safe level. But a lot of times, women expectations are best captured by the fact that they will have children with the wrong men before they make a sandwich for the right man. What I mean by that is, if you were basing your expectations on logic and objective reality and not just what you wanted and not leading with your ego, you would make that man commit to you with some form of marriage. You know what I'm saying? Like this show started off with either the biblical or the common law or whatever, but we're just talking about marriage in general when it comes down to an authentic commitment from a man. This market is too dangerous to take nothing but emotional commitment, and that's poor expectation management. And again, expectations, like Ifaloa said, ruin a lot of relationships and lives. Well, the truth is, expectations are really based on the lies that you tell yourself. So then you have to go out and validate your expectations. And that's when you end up with a red flag for a person that you're trying to paint green, and they never ever fit what you got going on. See, you go out with this silhouette of a like you got basically got a stage play put together, and you got somebody that's auditioning, and then you like the way they look. They have the characteristics, but not the character. And then you try to fit them in there. And then when they turn out to be a horrible actor, then you're pissed off because you cast the wrong member of the team, you know? So this is where self-deception will do you in first. So expectations are very, very dangerous. You gotta have expectation management. And again, women live in expectation, men live on experience. Feminine women live to enhance and not be lied to. They ask questions so they can figure out where they fit. Men ask what you want. Masculine men, disciplined men. So sexually undisciplined men and sexually undisciplined women live on expectation. They think with their ball sack, and they think with their vagina, and they make decisions that reflect that. And that's why you end up getting a lot of kids with the wrong people. Then bitterness being captured, and then having other traumas stuff to overcome. And then you just keep blaming and blaming and blaming, because when you start blaming, that's a key sign to me, a red flag and an indicator that you've been making a lot of decisions based on what you think you're trying to get from the wrong person every freaking time, you know? So when that comes down to it, you have to be honest with yourself and say, am I even attracted to this person? You might be, are you attracted to the character or the characteristics? Two different things. Look, absolutely. The more you lie to yourself, the more you set yourself up to be lied to. You create your reality. Yes, as a man thinketh, you know, is what we say. You know, I worked out, I was working on a little bit of architecture to try to help people understand, like, there's some stages that goes along with coming to realization about where you are in life, the decisions you make, and who you should make them with. And they all begin with this set of criteria. You got, I feel, and that's just how you are naturally, you know what I'm saying, in the world. You, in the absence of information, all you have is what you feel, you know, your instincts and just whatever your natural mindset is without information involved. And then you got, I think. When you go from feeling and now you want to solve the problem, you start thinking. And then you taking in information from your objective reality and you're trying to integrate that to make this make sense, you know? So when you just feeling, it's a lot of anxiety. Then you start thinking, then the anxiety starts to go down. You still don't know all of the data that you need to know just yet, but it helps you regulate what you're feeling. And then you go from feeling to thinking. And the next one is, what's the next one? What do you think it might be? Huh? What do you think it might be? It's a natural progression. You get into the end where you know, because you got conviction. Yes, and you got to have belief. Thank you. Yep. That's what I'm talking about. The inspiration of it all. So you go from feeling to thinking. And then when you start putting those together, then you get belief, because you're looking for the answer, right? So then you tie belief into all of that. And then once you got belief, thinking, and feeling, you know, you have conviction. Conviction, because you've already wrapped those other three elements together. And then when you know something ain't right, you get a chance to trust it. And no matter what they say, you can't be swayed off your opinion. You can't be lied to. It's not as effective as it would be in any other situation. So you got to make your progression to this. And then the problem is when you take that framework and you go back to the expectations piece again, the expectations are based on your feelings. So you making decisions off of your feelings initially, right? Expectations. Then you start thinking, and then your expectations change a little bit. They're open to adjustment. And then after you get the thinking part down and you start being more honest with yourself and you stop your self-deception, your belief is either confirmed or denied, right? If it's denied or confirmed, you know at this point. Now you got the conviction to be able to say, you know what? This particular format of this relationship with you is probably not it. And I have to leave it where it is, But see, the feminine part is where the belief part is so important, you know what I'm saying, for the health of a relationship. That's why, like, you'll see a lot of your traditional people that care about relationships that think a virtuous woman, or say a virtuous woman requires she's diligent and she's prayerful, because that's where the inspiration comes in to help the masculine man feel as though he's giving his best effort to reassure her. Men make assurances, women exist for reassurance in the relationship. So yes, feminine energy in essence is faith-based. It has to be, because if it's not faith, then it's fear. And if you operate on fear, you operate on emotions and feelings where it is not regulated easily. It is, we talk about, like, women, they draw in the box like this. And then the men of the box, we put up the boundary so you can exercise all your anxiety. And then you got to decide what you want to trust and what you don't, So, like, the feminine is just considering all of the boundaries and possibilities a million miles a minute until the masculine comes in and says, relax, we got this. You know what I'm saying? We're going to put this under control. We're going to make note of all your insecurities. And I'm going to show you that it's not based on reality. It's just based on anxiety. So we don't make decisions based on anxiety. You wouldn't feel safe if your man was making decisions with the way that you feel. Just like that. You can't model that, Said the feminine should operate out of a healed and devotional heart space. Come on now. Look, you don't want a man making the same decisions with your emotions. See, a lot of the times women don't understand the language of men. They don't care about the language of men in most cases. So let me frame this analogy for you. Men are sovereign individual countries, and women are the tourists with a visa. If you are a woman that's watching this, when you go to a place, you can have transactional experiences in a different country. You can read prices, you can shop, you can eat, find the bathroom, you can look at signs. Some things are color coded. There's a a legend, like on a map that tells you where everything is, and you can kind of figure it out because you got enough cognitive understanding to do basic survival stuff. Most people do. And let's just say it's Spain. So you're doing all these things in Spain, and you're having a great time. The scenery is great, all of that. But you don't speak the language. You don't speak that dialect. You don't speak that culture. You don't know the nuance of what's going on around you. Your situational awareness is different because you're in vacation mode. You're thinking transactionally. But the men that you need to talk to or what you would like to have an engagement with, you need to learn their language in order to have an experience there with the opposite sex to feel what the real protection is of that. So men are sovereign countries, so you have to learn the language of men. And what a man will do for you is learn your language and accommodate you so you can learn how to get the most out of your engagement with them. Now you can experience the same countries that you've been experiencing and take your passport everywhere you want to go and never learn the language of the sovereign country that you want protection from. But you can't have the least amount of resources and then you can make the rules. The language is the resource in this situation. So if you want to be protected by men, you need to know how to ask for it. Proclaiming independence is not a form of, it's not a request that a man respects that declares that you're ready to be protected, because you can't be independent and then complain about a lack of protection at the same time. You can't have it both ways. So if the man that you want doesn't care about how independent you are, you should be an adult, and that's what it's about. Let's see. What's going on here in the comments? Coach, hey, what's up, Coach? What you got going on? Yeah. So the main thing that I want to be able to say here is that men and women speak different languages, and we can benefit greatly in our society by accommodating the language barrier, making an exception for a lack of experience or expectation, teaching experience and teaching expectation management to each other so we can have better outcomes, because there are plenty of people that still are looking for the right relationship. And I think we're at this stage, in whether it be social media, that we're having better intimate conversations than we are when we walk up and we just see people in public, because you can't hide. It's only so much hiding that you could do before you reveal who you really are, and your outcomes is what speaks for you, So as we continue to have this exchange and conversation with those that reach out, want to be a part of the platform, I want to be able to answer those questions because I'm your internet stepdaddy. You know what I'm saying? Because there's always room at my table. Always ask these questions. Proper expression will get you everywhere compared to entitled demands. Yes. Man, look, Ifaloa is on it. I don't even know if I'm saying her name right, but I feel like I am, So, because she's presenting herself the right way, and she cares about balancing out the conversation, because this is absolutely necessary work. Because when it comes down to the Black community specifically, there are some stats that's just been floating around. And some of the things that I've seen, like in the 60s, the Black community was married in the 80% rate, and white people were married at a higher rate than that. And then now, fast forward, the Eastern Indian population is the number one most married unit and demographic in our country, and they're married at a 90% rate. And Black people are last in that order. Even white people have gone down to like the third order. You know what I'm saying? The third in the order. So we have to at least be cordial with each other. We have to figure out at least how to be respectful to one another, because how are we going to set the next generations up for, effective communication in a technology age where we have more tools and we have more tools and more synchronicity about how we share information that matters? Come on, Coach, what you got? The spoken languages stem from an understood belief system. When you change the input, it said when you change the input, the throughout must change. Yes. What you put in is going to come out in some other way, shape, or form, you know. So if you're not getting the outcomes that you want, what are you putting out in the universe that's giving you back the results that you're getting? These are the questions that have to be taken into consideration. You know, a lot of self-reflection, a lot of introspection, and I believe women are suffering from a lack of objectivity because we can't even have a general conversation where people hate generalizations, but the problem-solving process requires generalization. You have to sort out what's generally wrong from what's generally right, and that might be moral or whatever framework you want to look at it in. Then the next step is, do I fit the behavior of the general right or wrong? And if you don't fit the behavior, congratulations, thank you, Savior. You know, because that means you closer to getting what you want. Now you just have to twist, reframe, and rework the way that you process information and interpret data, interpret what you see in your throughout your observations in objective reality, not what you think, not just your expectations, because a lot of the framework for poor expectation management comes from our inability to let go of the idea of what our parents are in our head. And once we let go of that first reality, if your mom and your dad, if you let go of that expectation of them, you'll see yourself, your fellow friends differently, and all of that. Because I had a coaching call today, where, you know, I told the young lady that women struggle so much because one of the main things that they struggle with is that they will correct their kid before they correct their own behavior. And that is the same lesson that applies to all of us as adults, because all of us were children. And we were brought up on a do as I say and not as I do type of situation. You know, what's up, Ron? What we got going on? Big Clifton. So we have to be very mindful of what we're communicating in our roles of leadership, you know, and the delusion of what it's going to take to we have to show the delusion to say these people actually exist. These people actually exist, just like that 5-minute video where, you know, it's just up and down and all over the place and it just doesn't make any sense. So those people are walking around amongst us. They have children and they go to school. Their children go to school with your children, whether you like it or not. So you could be doing the right thing. You could be doing the right thing. You could be putting out the right information. You could be raising your kids the right way at home. But the minute that they get exposed to variables like that with other people's children and knowing what they are dealing with in their own household, and women, y'all know women, because you know your mothers. You know your mothers, and they are making children out there that are being raised by women that are just like your mothers, that you have the most problem with, that you meet the most barriers with, that you have the most obstacles with. You have to find a way to account for the expectation that you got in your head for your mother and abandon that. Because if you're not in the best health for your own kids, the further you are from attracting some man that would consider being in a relationship with you, because men evaluate this. How do you handle your immediate obligations and responsibilities? How are you dealing with your own conflict resolution? How are you mitigating the risk to what you're already responsible for? Because nobody wants to come in. We want to come in and enhance and refine, not to rescue. So a lot of women are living on expectations and they're thinking that a man is standing around ready to be a savior, but that's not the case. That is not the case. And the women that are listening won't say these things, but their behaviors say you're making decisions as if a savior is waiting on you to fall into his lap and say, I'm ready to pay all of your bills. And that doesn't make any sense. That is a very, very strange way of, solving your problems or setting yourself up for failure or success, depending on whatever it is, especially if you're not willing to learn his language. So with a lot of that right there being said, let's go to the comments and see what we got going on. Coach, I appreciate you showing up. Hey, Didi Red, I appreciate you. Howdy. Man, hey, look, I need a coaching on what you just, come on now, Cliff. Women have to save themselves and then stop victimizing themselves. Yes. We have to stop doing that. Let me get some applause, man. Yes, saving yourself is very key. It's necessary first. And if you're not willing to save yourself, why would somebody come in and I don't know, why would they help you pick yourself up? You have to do that first. There's a difference between helping someone and rescuing them. And a lot of women that fit the behavior of what I'm talking about, because I'm not talking about every woman, I'm talking about the difference between disciplined, feminine women and then the sexually undisciplined women. There's wives and there's everything else, which is a Kevin Samuels talking point, but it's the actual truth, because that's who we're talking about right now. And I just want to help shape the outcomes, because as your internet stepdaddy, I'm not obligated to play with your feelings. I just want to tell you what the truth is from a mentorship perspective. And I want to add some clarity as almost like a third party consultant. That's pretty much what it is, because I'm here to tell you the truth. And your feelings is something that all of you need to work out with your therapist first. You know what I'm saying? As a coach, I'm here to tell you what works. I'm here to tell you that the work still got to get done, even if you don't like it. I'm here to tell you that it's supposed to feel bad, but it's not supposed to stay bad if you're doing the work. And it's going to suck. Everything I talk about revolves around repetition. You cannot get the outcomes you want without the repetitions. You cannot. And you're going to get your feelings hurt by the steps that you do take, because you can't control anything but how you respond. So emotional discipline is so important. You'll hear people talk about emotional intelligence, but a lot of women don't have any emotional discipline. So therefore, your emotional intelligence doesn't even exist, because how emotionally intelligent is a person that can't communicate without ad hominem attacks, without being passive aggressive, without the gaslighting, without the manipulation, the deflection? That's nothing that a man is interested in, So with that being said, tonight it's been about expectations and experience. This is about doing the work to create a better chance for your outcomes to change. So with that being said, you guys check out the links in the caption. And here's the other part of what I'm talking about as well. I'm available. I'm meant to be here to receive your calls. I am meant to be here to put you on the schedule, and the best ability is availability. So I love this time with you guys, but I want to wrap up. And for those of you that have enjoyed this call, you like what I'm talking about, repost this, share it, drop me some information about whatever comments in the comments about what you want to hear discussed, and inbox me and book your coaching call today. I'm your internet stepdaddy. I'm your host, Victor Vincent, and I'll catch you tomorrow. I'm out.